At the invite of MRTV, I was in Dortmund, Germany over the weekend, and on Saturday I got to spend about an hour with the PIMAX Crystal Super, testing it out in DCS and Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. My thanks to Sebastian from MRTV for the invite and the opportunity to be one of the first to get hands-on with the PIMAX Crystal Super. Welcome everybody to the SimHanger. My name's Mark. Thanks very much for watching, and let's get started. The version I had access to was the QLED 50 pixels per degree, which is 3840 by 3840 per eye. It was running at 90 Hz, has local dimming built in as well as eye tracking. It was running on a 13900K and a 1490 GPU with 32 gigs of memory. The good news, it's direct connection to your PC, no battery needed. Firstly, a quick word from this video sponsor. The most expensive component in your VR headset are your lenses. Protect your lenses and your eyes with lens inserts. VRWave can make lenses to your prescription, or maybe you don't wear glasses but want to protect your lenses. Then look to get blue light and anti-glare filter. This will reduce stress on your eyes, reduce the chance of motion sickness, means you can stay longer in VR. VRWave produce lenses for most VR headsets, link in the notes below. This is not a review of the PIMAX Crystal Super. If you follow my channel, you'll know I'll do at least 8 hours or so in a VR headset before making any calls. So what you're getting here are my raw gut reactions and impressions from that very first hands-on experience. The first point on my agenda was, as I wear glasses, was there enough room to accommodate it? And like the PIMAX Crystal and PIMAX Crystal Light, it was fine if you wear glasses. At the end of the day, I'd still opt for prescription lenses, obviously, from a comfort point of view, but if you wear glasses, well, you've got room. The form factor of the PIMAX Crystal Light is smaller than the PIMAX Crystal or the PIMAX Crystal Light. Still a fairly large headset, but not as big as the others, and from a weight point of view, I would put it, well, it's less than the PIMAX Crystal, but slightly heavier than the PIMAX Crystal Light. But I haven't actually weighed it, so that's just my impression. For the first time I used the top strap on the PIMAX Crystal, and I must say it made a big difference to the overall comfort. Certainly something I'll be getting for my PIMAX Crystal Light. Guiding me through was Martin from PIMAX. Many of you will know him as Sweeviver from his YouTube days. Thank you Martin and team. And my first protocol was DCS. For these tests, DCS was running under SteamVR. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 was running under the OpenXR. The headset was running at full resolution, which is 3840 by 3840 pixels per eye. In DCS we are using dynamic foveated rendering with quad views on, but the visual fidelity of this headset is somewhat exceptional. Do you know, I didn't even notice. Martin told me after the fact, and yeah, well, I had to go and check the settings, and he was dead right. Now, I wasn't sure really what to expect, to be honest, because the PIMAX Crystal and PIMAX Crystal Light are already a very, very high resolution. And the graphics in the PIMAX Crystal Super are very good indeed, but initially I wasn't actually sure just how big a jump it was. But then in the cockpit I looked down at the map. And this is where the 50 ppd really comes into its own. I could actually read the small detail on the map, something I haven't been able to do with any other headset. And performance-wise, well, we're around about 85 to 90 FPS all the way. I didn't experience any juddering. To put it simply, the graphics in this VR headset are not quite, but something close to looking at your 4K monitor. And the colors, well, they were just popping. Absolutely wonderful. The display in the headset is very clear, and one thing that I noticed was how bright it was, but not uncomfortably so. For me, well, it was just right. But there was a little something bothering me. It was only really visible if you looked up at the white clouds against the blue sky. Initially, I wasn't sure whether it was dirt on the lenses, but these lenses, there is Mura, and if you look for it, you can definitely see it. And I have to be honest, I was a little disappointed at that. Mura is caused by a change in the light intensity of the pixels. Normally the mini LEDs, like looking through a window with perhaps a smudge or dirty fingerprint on it. The amount of Mura that is visible can vary from lens to lens. I'm not sure the sweet spot within the headset is as large as it is in the PIMAX Crystal Light. but it's still pretty big and you don't have too much trouble getting your eyes in the right position. I was comfortable in the headset, and I would say that the binocular overlap is very good indeed. Enough to say perhaps that it wasn't something that occurred to me whilst in the headset, and it is something I'm particularly susceptible to. The one thing I haven't mentioned, and I should, is the FOV. It's very impressive. More on that a little bit later in the video. Then I tried Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. Unfortunately, they didn't have the 2024 version installed or the beta, so couldn't try out the fixed foveated rendering built into the sim now. But we did have fixed foveated rendering enabled through the OpenXR toolkit, and once again running at full resolution. And initially using DLSS4 on balance mode. I don't know exactly what the performance figures were. I'm going to guess it was around the 45 FPS mark, which resulted in a very, very smooth flight indeed. Now, although fixed foveated rendering was on, I didn't really notice it because the base resolution is so high. Now, these lenses don't have exactly edge-to-edge clarity. There is a little bit of distortion at the very edges of the FOV, and I found it was more noticeable in Microsoft Flight Simulator than in DCS, to be honest, but it wasn't to a degree where it was distracting or disturbing. The one thing I'm trying to find the words to explain is the difference in the resolution compared to the PIMAX Crystal or PIMAX Crystal Lite at 2880 by 2880 pixels per eye. Well, you could, and understandably, pick up a lot more detail and read the smaller writing and so on, but I think what struck me really was the crispness or sharpness of the display at this very high resolution. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I felt that almost the 3D effect was slightly enhanced because of the higher resolution. In the headset that I was using in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, once again, Mura was quite evident, more so perhaps than DCS. We then switched to DLSS4 in quality mode. Performance was not dissimilar at all, it was still very good, and the display itself and the visual fidelity was just amazing. Let's now turn to the subject of field of view, FOV. I tested out both vertical and horizontal FOV. For vertical I got about 90 degrees, but bear in mind I was wearing glasses. Those that weren't wearing glasses were recording something in the region of 100 and 102 degrees. In terms of the horizontal FOV, well, many of the results tested were very much the same. I settled at about 124 degrees. That FOV is wider than most headsets, and it was pretty impressive all round, to be fair. In some tests there were some elements of chromatic aberration, red line coming under text, but it wasn't significant or distracting, and very much reliant on you wearing the headset properly, with your eyes directly in the sweet spot. I tried somewhat unsuccessfully to film some of the through the lens footage. This is in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, the King Air. It gives you an idea, but it doesn't really do the lenses any justice. But I thought I'd show it anyway, just to give you an idea of the colors and great definition that these lenses bring. With limited time, I didn't get the opportunity to test the pass-through or the microphone, but overall my impression is this is a very, very impressive VR headset, offering just about the best graphics that you can possibly get in a consumer-facing VR headset, great FOV and clarity, marred only by the presence of Mura on the lenses. The sound was adequate, but of course I would always recommend the DMAS option. Pricing is going to be around the $1,700 to $1,800. More detail from the PIMAX website, link in the notes below. As always, thank you very much for joining me. I hope you found it useful and informative. Stay well, look after yourself, see you again soon, and ciao for now.